like and subscribe. What are the subtle signs that someone is misogynistic? Well, in my experience it are easier for men to keep that misogynistic behavior in check until they are confronted with a woman they do not like. So look at how they treat women who are not doing what he thinks they should be doing. Misogynistic men will act much differently to women they are attracted to vs women they are not attracted to. Same with women who they respect vs do not respect. Those differences should be red flags. Yup, there was a Reddit post about sexism a while ago, and even though I don't remember the post 100%, I sure as hell remember the comments under it. One of them was a guy saying how sexism isn't only reserved for women and that men experience it just as much. Got some replies from women agreeing, and he replied to most of them saying stuff like, "I'm so glad that a woman agrees with me etc." But as soon as a woman disagreed with him, saying that sexism affects women all over the world more than men, he called her a female. Yes. Look at how they talk about women they don't like. If they start speaking in misogynistic slurs, or disparage their looks, you have some strong evidence they are a misogynistic asshole. When someone wants kids, but does not want daughters, this is a huge red flag to me. When a woman's confidence bothers them, and they immediately assume it as arrogance. Picking at woman's bodies and looks. Getting upset if a woman is not more outgoing, but not bothered by men who are not. When someone wants kids, but does not want daughters, this is a huge red flag to me. Totally agree, and I want to add on to this. The subtle funny comments about not taking care of the baby. I have had so many men joke with me that when they have a baby they are not touching it till it is out of diapers. I literally see comments of men saying how they don't want daughters simply because of sex workers etc, and it's ed up tbh. My coworker's husband got legitimately angry at her when they found out she was pregnant with a girl, and they already had 2 sons. Here's a piece of the dads celebrating when they see blue at their gender reveal party. Gender reveals are always stupid, but that just hits different. I have been called arrogant. Usually the same people adore famous arrogant men, so I always respond with, "I just quoted X famous person. I didn't know you thought he was arrogant." Works like a charm almost every time. I agree with everything except for the first one. I would never prefer to have a daughter, because she would suffer more as a woman than a man. I grew up in a country where women get raped and murdered, sexually harassed, molested at a young age all the time. Pedophilia is never a topic, it's an open secret. Girls as young as 8 are sold to be prostituted. A country where women have no voice. If you grew up in a safer place, where women can speak, and have their rights heard, you will never understand. Using the word female to describe women. Or calling grown women girls. It can be okay in certain situations, but it's better to be cautious with people who use it. That nearly always sounds like they'd rather use the word instead, but no, it isn't appropriate. Honestly, I do not trust a single person who refers to women and girls as females. Female friend, female scientist, etc. Fine. But using a female to describe a woman/girl is dehumanizing and skin crawling. Trying to explain this to men is like talking to a brick wall. So much of this BS in my male-dominated workplace. Yes. Thermal is a descriptor. Not a noun. It is along the same lines as Oriental in my eyes. Used to describe things, not people. Oriental rugs are things. A female rabbit is a thing. Yeah, I'd never call people Oriental, so just like you should not call women thermal so. The only time I will do this is when I have used male beforehand in the sentence. Laughing at imagining some weirdo who just replaces girls/women with females in general though. Man, there is nothing I love more in this world than no vertical bar. Females. Cracking jokes about women, and then saying lighten up, it's only a joke. IDK if counts as a subtle sign or not. My favorite thing to do is saying I do not get it, can you explain it to me? Then of course they cannot, because the joke is misogynistic or offensive. I've been rewatching Downton Abbey and Mary refers to it's just a joke as a bully's defense. I would consider what you said as a subtle sign, because most of people don't think about it too much. Whenever someone says it's just a joke, most people brush it off as a stupid thing. But you should definitely pay attention to the things someone jokes about very often. Especially when it's not even a good joke. Telling your girlfriend to make you a sandwich is not even funny on a comedic level, regardless of political correctness. I'm more offended by how bad of a joke it is. Yes. Like they get to decide if it's okay or not. Makes my blood boil and shows they don't want to listen to women. I like Scrodina's asshole. Someone who says something then decides whether or not they are joking, based on the reaction it gets. Perhaps you should lighten up and not look for misogyny in everything. Outrage is addictive. Sometimes the fault is in ourselves, and not always others. Acting like they know what women, as a whole, want in a man. They assume we all want the same thing, a 6+, muscular. Some girls probably do. That's fine, but assuming that, and being angry about that usually means you're a nice guy and that you're none of those three things. Except for maybe the last one. Ugh yes. My ex was pretty short, and used to go on about how all women want men who are 6 foot at least. He would get super worked up about it, and how people didn't give him a chance because of that. And he would say this to me, his girlfriend. Got, no kidding. I'm about to unsub to all the old groups, because I'm so. I'm sick of if you're under 5 minutes and 11 seconds, and not a millionaire why even try? To go along with this, assuming any woman that wants a tall, attractive guy only wants douchebags. We are allowed to want someone attractive and nice. He's only a in another man's eyes out of jealousy. LMAO, I once had a boss try to tell me he knew women better than I do, because he'd been married to a woman for 25 years. Like, him being married to a woman for 25 years really trumped me being a woman for 25 years. You almost had to respect the arrogance. They always assume we want some gym rat and the buffer the better. Like, I am in shape, but I see a huge buff guy, and get immediate red flags. They likely only care about their looks and they themselves think they'll attract women without doing any work on their personality, as long as they're hugely buff, and at a point where they're the word gains unironically. Oh my god, the complaining that goes on in the dating app subs about how good looking men can get away with treating women poorly. First off, in my case no they cannot. Second, in my head that whining translates to I am mad, I am not hot enough to treat women like. Calling women emotional. Telling us to calm down when we're perfectly calm. Using pet names when it is inappropriate. Ugh, yes. I absolutely, when someone I am not close to, or even if I am, honestly, uses pet names with me. I try to be a little lenient if they're southern, but I live on the west coast of the USA. So it is not common. But hearing people call me sweetie, sweetheart, honey, babe. Like dude, I am not your girlfriend. Back off. But anger is not an emotion sensei, so men truly are more rational, /J. Telling us to calm down when we're perfectly calm. Yep. I remember 2 years ago I used to talk to a guy on a game. One day, he texted me and I was neutral. Wasn't happy or sad, just normal mood. We talked for a little bit, until he said I'm mad. I replied that I'm not mad, I'm normal. We talked for a little bit again, until he told me that I'm mad, and need to calm down. I told him again I have nothing to be mad about. He told me I'm mad for the 3rd time and that's when I really got mad. I dumped him, and never talked to him again. I still don't regret this. Humans have emotions. Men have them too. Despite the fact that I once dated a guy who said, without a hint of sarcasm, men only have 3 emotions: hungry, angry, and horny. I used to play a game with my coworkers during downtime at an old job. It involved hidden roles. I had one coworker who would tell other players something to the effect of boo-hoo, go cry to mommy, whenever they'd get annoyed about something. One game, he shared a role with one other player. They both knew they shared the role. Everyone else figured him out in the first round, and he was voted out. He immediately threw a fit, yelling about how the other person had ed up and lost them the game. The other player hadn't been figured out yet, and the game was still going. It took everything in me not to say, "Boo-hoo, go cry to mommy," but I really didn't want to deal with him. He was also the kind of person who would tell women to calm down, and that they're too emotional mayo. IDK how he can reconcile both of these views together, it's pretty amazing. Emotions misogynists see emotion in women as a sign of weakness and lack of control, but in men a sign of authenticity and strength. See Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. Barf. The biggest giveaways, if they do not address or acknowledge women within male company, either through lack of eye contact or not including women in the conversation. This really bothers me, and I get it a lot at work. I end up just staring them out just watching how they're actively avoiding including me. This can spread within a group too. So everything is fine until that one dude bro who won't acknowledge your presence walks in, then gradually you start to doubt whether or not your own voice is making sounds other people can hear. This s me off so much OMG. This so much. I'm basically accustomed to it at this point. I basically expect that a woman so won't talk to me directly. And greetings/handshakes are not extended. When I met the boyfriend of my boyfriend's cousin, I was actually really taken off guard when this guy I was loosely connected to was addressing me directly in conversation, making eye contact, responding to keep conversation going. Also, I play code volleyball. The men mostly pass the ball among themselves. I was again taken off guard when one of the guys bumped it gently to me to set. I work in a tire/lube shop and I get ignored and passed over for my male coworkers a lot. It's super funny when they ask about ordering, or if we have something in stock, and then the coworker turns to me for an answer. It's getting better, I must admit. I think maybe because the usuals didn't know me and trust me enough they shied away. Now some of regulars encourage newer customers to ask me first. The idea that I must just run a cash register because I can't possibly know about tires and parts is still pretty pervasive. This is what I was going to write. It is the most subtle and the most telling. They have no friends who are women. I know I see a lot of young girls/women who think it is ideal that their boyfriend has no female friends. I argue this is probably not as great as they make it out to be. If a woman cannot tolerate to be friends with you, odds are something is not rigged o vertical bar. One of my closest friends has a girlfriend like that. Gets super jealous whenever he talks to another girl, or has girlfriends like me. It's so bad she made him block me on our socials. We are online friends. It's truly sad. I keep telling him his relationship is not healthy, and that I'm worried about the both of them. I keep telling her I have no interest in him, and that I have a BF myself. We are just close friends. She's still uncomfortable. Every now and then I'll get a message from my friend. He'll temporarily unblock me. I miss when we used to hang out over video chat and play on Steam together. IDK what to do now? Yes. I have been saying this for years. If a man does not have any female friends, it is indicative that the only women he wants to keep in his life that he is not related to are the ones he wants to. He is unable to see a woman past what she can offer him. I would to agree with this, until I figured out that guys never really take their female companions as friends, but more as people they'd not be in a relationship with but still sexualize. What if he's just really antisocial and it also depends on thing like the population of men at his workplace or school, like I go to an all-boys school. Yeah, even though I'm not crazy about my boyfriend's friends, I'm glad that he has good friends that are women. What if you live in a society where boys and girls have no interaction? Making comments about womanless bodies, commenting how womanless bodies are works of art to be admired. Honestly, anything borderline creepy about a womanless body is indicative of misogyny to me. Also, using the word *females*. I don't mind if they make a comment. The true test, if you will, is their reaction/response to you politely asking them to not do it again. So many men have weeded themselves out by getting up in arms about me asking them to not comment on my looks. calling me names over my simple request, telling me I'm actually ugly when I enforce my boundaries, messaging me that they aren't attracted to me when I put it on my profile, and arguing with my boundary. It's like they enjoy stomping all over your boundaries and foam at the mouth when you won't let them. You don't like men calling a woman female? That might be creepy, but not misogynistic. Misogyny is about looking down on women, or assigning them specific roles, and saying they admire the woman's body is not it. It is used to vertical bar weird for the lack of a better word. Talking over women, or excluding them from conversations. Not asking for a woman's input, when she is an expert in the field. Excluding them from conversations, yes. When you're in a mixed group and they don't even acknowledge the women there, or attempt to bring them into a conversation. It is subtle but so common in my experience. Not really a subtle sign that is just straight up misogyny D. Oh how I wish the signs were subtle. Anyway, what you're probably getting at is stuff like using he/him pronouns only when making hypotheticals about people in STEM or leadership, ordering for a woman, while on a date, and stuff like that. It frustrates me more than it should when people misgender me on Reddit. My avatar is pretty feminine, and if you don't know, why not use neutral pronouns? Ooh, or a man who ordered for me on our first and only date later sexually assaulted me, so this is a good reminder that is a red flag. My mom does like this all the time. Listen, I'm a woman in STEM, and I still catch myself doing this on occasion. That is why it is so important to assess, acknowledge and address your biases. There are implicit bias tests available online that are fast to complete and very informative. And there is nothing wrong with having bias. We are all a product of our upbringing and environment, even when we actively try to change our perspectives as adults. So I don't see it as a failure, but rather a bit of the patriarchy still influencing my thinking. This allows me to say to myself, hoops, there is a bit of my implicit bias, so we can go and correct my thoughts or behaviors accordingly. The key is awareness, and that is honestly the easiest thing to accomplish as a start. Telling women what they should do without being asked. Playing devil's advocate all the time. Only being nice to women they find attractive. Wife bad memes. Assigning either Madonna or status to women. Not being happy for their female partner's success. Wife bad memes. This is one I've noticed recently at work. It only took me years to spot the pattern. The guys who make I hate my wife jokes are far more likely to not listen to me, disregard decisions I've made, that I carry responsibility for, and disregard my qualifications. That's on top of these jokes just making me uncomfortable on their own. I've recently started joking back that these comments make them sound old, and that I hear the thing kids are doing these days is marrying people they actually like. Millennials are *ruining* the divorce market. The devil's advocate drives me insane. I was in a group discussion for one of my grad classes. Everything I said, the dude always played devil's advocate with me. And only me. Focusing only on appearance when commenting about women. Or when they spot someone they're attracted to, and feel compelled to announce to anyone within earshot that I'd her. They don't care who a person is, what their personality is like, their thoughts, needs, opinions. The only thing that matters to them is how able/attractive they are. And also thinking that's the biggest compliment they could give me. I feel this. I went on a date last night, dresses down, told the guy I had 2 master degrees, and he told me twice how cute I am, while we covered world history over the past 100 years. I sometimes just can't with men. I heard this. Doesn't matter if they are talking about a politician, musician, foreign policy expert, their HS teacher, they have to tell you they think she's sexy, as if that's the most important thing about her. Nobody cares about your boner. For me, I just assume that any man is misogynistic, or neutral to misogyny, until he proves otherwise. Neutral to misogyny, or being okay with it equals misogynist. I assume you probably know this. I just wanted to reinforce it, and remind others who may forget, if you're neutral, you're taking the side of the oppressor. I assume all men are, because it's ingrained in our society and even kids young as 3 pick up on it. But it can be unlearned. Even women have it too. Guilty until proven innocent WTF. Sounds misandric. That's healthy. The difference in the way they treat women they would. And those they wouldn't. I was just about to comment this. When I was in high school a lot of the guys were horrible to the girls they weren't attracted to. Like asking them out as a joke, walking behind them, and making mean comments to their friends, etc. This. As a woman who isn't conventionally attractive I see this so much. Men who treat me like I'm invisible or treat me like crap in common everyday situations, not dates, because I don't make their PP happy and like. So this is a Wendy's. A coworker we just hired, a boy not a man. I was talking about how I was nervous to go to physical therapy because I had an instructor that was a male. In the past I have had my share of being sexually harassed by men I have trusted. My coworker had the nerve to say, well, sexual assault does not happen as much as you think it does, and I fired back with, tell that to the 100+ gymnast that were sexually assaulted by their own doctor for years. He became quiet. The one thing that shocks me is that he is engaged, and he thinks like that. I feel bad for the poor girl. There are a lot of men who think that, because they wouldn't do it, and don't believe any man they know would, it must be sensationalized by the news, or whatever. When in reality it happens everywhere, all the time, and it's an issue virtually all men don't have to think about happening to them. So it must be overblown, right? Empathy and listening goes a long way on this one, Imo, as far as how men should respond to a comment like what you said. Yeah, but I would assume there are a good number of women who faced this a lot in school. Well, actually. Oh, I had to learn this the hard way. But if they want to know how many people you've been with and certain details about those experiences, run. It's a trap for them to use later on down the road, to call you a slut. But can this be a generalization? I'm seriously asking, and not questioning you. Putting women they like high up on a pedestal, and getting disappointed, or upset when they inevitably don't live up to his expectations. Oh yes. I have experienced this. Whenever I comment that someone has said something that makes me uncomfortable, pet names, for example, or how I'm being treated, to another man, and they downplay it. For example, a manager kept calling me princess. I commented to a male coworker how much that angered me, and he tried to convince me that I was overreacting. That to me is worse than the calling me princess. The men who excuse this kind of behavior are just as bad as the men doing it. Call them bub, tiger, champ, peanut. That seems to be the trick, to get them to understand that being treated like a 5-year-old in the workplace *ISN apostrophe T asterisk actually cute. UHG, princess. Cringe. There's a guy at work who calls all the women sweetie. It's not in a super creepy way, but it's still just super cringy. I don't work with this person and he's not even related to my job. He's just in the same large open office. I work in politics. How much time you got? I've got men with no degrees in this field, barely out of high school, trying to teach me about my field and my speciality. If men can't accept that they don't much or anything about something, run. Because they may be nice while they like you, but the second you're in deep, he's a whole new person. If he can't respect pop, boy bands, rom-coms, such, run. Not because he's offensive, because no decent human being will let *T on something they don't like, just because they don't like it. And these topics that I mentioned are highly targeted subjects, since they are mainly curated for women, so if he doesn't respect these at all, run because this man sees women's interest as stupid. If they always go for women younger than them, they're looking for someone to control. If they're so obsessed with you, they treat everyone else like *T, run, because the second that honeymoon phase is over, that man will turn on you. If he has no respect for women in any career, If he says he likes natural women, guaranteed that man don't know what a natural woman looks like, but okay. If his mom serves him, that man will make you his maid. If he doesn't respect his mom/sisters, that man is only respecting you because he is infatuated. The second that feeling goes away, you will be treated the same as his siblings. If his humor is mainly borderline bullying and at the expense of others, run. If he's hypocritical, can't apologize, can't take no for an answer, attempts to guilt you into something. I have so much more. There are so many red flags to look for. Some of these apply to women as well, so men take notes as well, but my advice is in the first few weeks, try and get him angry, see how he reacts. He probably won't burst completely, but you'd get a good idea. Does he curse? Does he insult? Does he try and make it personal? Does he clench his fists? Does he seem like he's holding himself back? Study all these when you're still not attached. Also, pull him into a serious debate. Politics, some important issue happening in your country or region at that time. See how he talks to you. Usually people get angry during these and let slip some red flags. This is such a perfect list. Does his mom still serve him? And if he does not respect his mom/sisters. These are key hallmarks of someone in my life, and I wish I knew the signs so much sooner. The second one is literally my brother. Oh Lord, I was thinking if he really was somewhat misogynistic because of that, but now I have confirmation. I honestly do love him to bits, and I enjoy him cringing at the things I like, but it's now making me realize that even someone as caring as him is slightly misogynistic. I guess it's the society we live in today. I was scrolling and looking at clothes on Pinterest because I wanted to glow up. I'm not glowing up now. I listen to pop and Korean variety shows all the time. I really wanted to watch the first episode of RWBY a few days ago. I like Dream SMP. He called all of those things basic. Girl, yes, this is the best answer here, D. Exactly. The first real argument will bring out the condescension. I recently learned to spot possible internalized misogynistic behavior, siding with the guy even though he has been an absolute jerk towards a woman. Also, seeing other women as enemies, and in that same vein, someone who only likes to be one of the guys, and says that she just can't get along with women. One of these traits doesn't make misogynistic behavior per se, but a combination of them will be. You are sense being uncomfortable with showing any kind of femininity, not always a sign. You are sense treating women differently than they do men in general, such as not addressing their presence in social situations, not introducing themselves, avoiding eye contact, not if it is with everyone, excluding them. You are sense not having or not being open to having female friends. Only viewing women as potential partners, or as nothing at all, if they do not find them attractive. You are sense using pet names to demean/undermine women in discussions, such as sweetheart or dear. This. To add to the first point, using feminine attires and accessories for comedy purposes. What's funny about dressing up as a woman? What kind of things are you picturing to be under the umbrella of femininity? When you say not always a sign, do you have specific things in mind that you would consider a sign as opposed to others that aren't so clear? Yep, I had been with my boyfriend for a few months before I met one of his oldest childhood friends. I had heard all about his friend and I know he had me, but when I was first introduced to him, he arrived with a group of male friends and barely acknowledged me. He also said at a later date that he thought parents preferred sons to daughters because sons did not take themselves so seriously and were more likely to be fun. Treating women differently than they do men in general, such as not addressing their presence in social situations, not introducing themselves, avoiding eye contact, excluding them. Although I do agree, men often can't treat women exactly the same way they treat men, otherwise they will get harassment, bullying claims, etc. A lot of guys are too lazy to adapt their behavior to suit women's sensibilities, and thus would rather just pretend they aren't there. It's not always misogyny. I'm a neurodivergent guy, and to try and avoid anyone noticing I'm not neurotypical, I'll try and be overly friendly, but it leaves me extremely drained. But if I'm not hiding it, I tend to avoid eye contact and talk a little less, especially with women due to having bad sexually and just in general experiences with them. How do I make it clear I'm not trying to be rude and that I'm just neurodivergent? How they treat or talk about gay/bi men. Misogyny is usually paired with treating other groups poorly too. In a romantic context, men will be hiding their misogyny, so pay attention to how they treat others. Also, a lifted pickup truck is a dead giveaway of a toxic dude. That being said, there are plenty of gay misogynists out there. Heard a coach say my summer's baseball team, you're just a bunch of girls. I had the chances to run over him in the parking lot, but I didn't. Like it was a bad thing to be girls. In grade 8 phys ed we were playing handball, I think. The teacher made us play girls vs boy, and, when he assigned sides of the court, he told the whole class that the girls' goal/net/whatever would be the one that was set up right next to his window, because the boys would probably break my window, but there's no way a bunch of girls ever could. I had to get his window replaced. Hell hath no fury like a bunch of girls scorned. Strong aversion to things that are traditionally associated with women. Not just a simple preference against it, but a distaste that is stronger than it should be for an average person. Things like cats, pop music, flowers, minivans, etc. I was going to say hating cats. They're so feminine coded that I think a lot before the haters come out. Notice I said a lot of people who hate cats are actually projecting their misogyny. Not carrying out domestic tasks even though they are capable. Still bitter about the fact I had to make dinner the day I had a baby 14 years ago. Fat ass. Ed up. I am sorry that happened to you. I told my boyfriend this, and he said, that was funny you made the neuro vertical bar. Like, so how is that funny? Dictating what is or isn't offensive or disrespectful to women. Like OMG, just listen to the actual women FFS. Always tells random stories about women when it adds nothing to the conversation or has nothing to do with the topic at hand. The story might not necessarily have an overtly negative tone, but will still be irrelevant and out of context. Makes jokes about their mum. I don't mean just the your mum type jokes. I actually mean comments about any shortcomings about their mum which they'll try to pass off as humor. Describes himself as a realist, logical thinker, rational thinker, cynical, pragmatist, etc. These are the guys who will always, without fail, be misogynists who dismiss or invalidate women's feelings and opinions. Is a centrist. Thinks he's a movie critic. 100% of men who fancy themselves as movie buffs are misogynistic. Telling random stories about women is a big one. They often have a weird fixation with women. It never ends. The movie buff comment made me laugh out loud. I dated a super misogynistic dude whose primary personality trait was being really into movies. Spoiler alert, all the best films he wanted to see were so male-centric. Let us pepper in a female character and threaten her with assault so the audience understands the situation is serious. Dear Lord. Point #3 is a big one. Can anyone explain why there is this correlation? For the last point, see what he thinks of Lindsay Ellis. When they won't take your word for it. That one. Like they need another man to say the same thing before it is true. You're so much prettier than your friend. Looking at a photo of us together. You should smile more. After he told me things I found upsetting. My ex was confused due to some sad stuff that happened to her in her life, and I did my best to help her, but in the end I realized some people are beyond help. By the way, the same goes for the previous ex. She was messed up in a different way. And the one before that, again, a different brand of crazy. Before that there was my first love, who was absolutely perfect in every way. I was never in a relationship with her. I kind of knew she'd be trouble, but I got involved with her anyway, and then had a hard time breaking it off. Walking 2 steps ahead of me in the street, instead of next to me. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck.